Oh, it's 6 p.m. Hopefully the folks in the cable room are paying attention. Good, they closed the door. They are paying attention. 6 p.m. and I'm opening the May 16th, 2023 meeting of the Rutland, I nearly said ad hoc bylaw committee, the Rutland Conservation Commission. Present in the room are myself, Peter Crane, Skip Clark, Jared Gentolucci, Glenda Williamson, Scott Langren, and Joe Delaquila. Present remotely is Melissa Danza. Maybe I should share a screen. Meeting minutes. Hopefully we've read the meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as written.
I just had noticed one typo at the very last line on the first page. Motion, spelling.
Otoin.
Oh, yeah, I was seeing if you'd catch that. It's like, where's Waldo?
See if we're paying attention.
So that's what I did,
Exactly.
isn't it?
You
Made
win
a
the
move to
prize,
it.
Glenda.
Oh, minutes fun.
Any other questions, comments, corrections? Roll call.
Black eye. Gentolucci eye.
Williamson,
Langrenite.
Those line.
Crane eye. And if I could find everything I'm looking for. All right, so we have four submissions for notices of intent on Grizzly Drive. Hey, that's even the first one. How about that? So these are all clear. You can, I know you're here for them. For the record, please identify yourself.
Cleve Blair, Blair Builders. Basically, these houses are sold, and all of the grading was done in compliance with when we did the road. So the lots are cleared, the road was put in, there's a lot of fill on the lot, all the erosion controls are in. It's basically just, we have to file for each lot as they come up. I mean, it's not really a hard one, but that's what they basically all are. All the trees are cleared there, all the erosion controls are in the way they're gonna be. I don't know what else to say.
They're all single family, all sewer, all
Yes,
town water?
Water and sewer, yep.
So this is the first one. I don't see anything really fascinating here. Here's the second one, a little further back. If anybody wants to ask questions, feel free. I'm blind, I can't read what those notes say. But, wait a second, where the heck is my cursor? There we are. That should, is that ECB or is that the 100? No, because the 100's here.
Correct.
So that's gonna be ECB.
With the arc at the back.
Yeah.
You can expand
Never
your
seen
view
one.
if you go down to the bottom right-hand
This is-
corner.
5A.
Slide that up.
Oh, we started with 5 and we're working the other way? That we were on 1, sorry.
The first one was 1, which I showed,
Oh, and then you switched to 5.
and I went to, next one is 5. Any questions? I mean, there isn't anything more to show here. This is the edge of the drawing, so.
Right.
Could we go back to 1A?
Sure.
I had comments just on the, only thing I noticed that on all of these plans, the Zone A line doesn't match the mapped Zone A line.
Those were changed in the field by Bruce Bauk from DEP. That's how we actually put the road in.
Way back.
Yeah.
So he
yeah,
went out and did, and you got a map, what do you call it, revision
I did,
for all of these on Brittenell?
yes. Yep.
Okay, because I was looking at it going, why don't these match?
Grizzly Drive.
Brittenell Estates, Grizzly Drive, yep.
Right.
So the sewer line on 1A is outside the Zone A?
I didn't draw the drawing, but
It's
that's where
west.
it's supposed to be, yes.
Shown west of Zone A, so it's, the
Yep.
sewer line on all of these is outside the Zone A. I don't know a lot about this subdivision, I have never seen, could you send the, put the subdivision plan in the file folder?
It is. There's a folder on the shared drive labeled Brittenell Estates. Although all of this one's Bear Hill too, though, right?
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, I looked for it
This
on
is
there.
Brittenell Estates. Bear Hill 2 is
Oh, so
different.
this is Brittenell.
Oh, this is
So-
Brittenell.
This is Brittenell Estates. Bear Hill 2 has no wetlands.
So this one's on the drive. Or SharePoint, rather.
Under Brittenell, the whole
Yep, it's its own-
subdivision? Oh, I thought
yep.
I looked under there.
It's
Okay.
its own folder.
No magic with this one.
So did you have anything, Glenda, on 5?
No, same comments. I just didn't know why the zone As weren't matching up.
Yep. And here's 6. And 22.
And then should we, once we get a submittal in, this is just for my information, so after we open it, we're opening the NOIs tonight?
No. No, this is a submission. So
We're just
all doing-
reviewing the
We are
submission.
reviewing to make sure that they are complete and correct so that we can schedule the hearing.
And that means after this, it's okay to go check the lots
Come anytime.
and look at them? Okay.
Yeah, as Clea said, this has been, look, this is not a new subdivision.
Right.
This has been going on for a long time, and so,
Yes.
And Clee's running out of lots.
The whole first phase is sold out. And there, and all of Arrowhead is sold out, so. What I wanted to ask tonight was Lot 1 and Lot 6, probably before you can have the next hearing, I would really like to put in the foundations. I don't know if that's okay with everybody, but, like I said before, all the lots are graded, all the erosion controls are in. I don't know if,
and the fast answer is, there is no way the commission can give you permission to do that in writing or verbally like this, in a public meeting, because that's a pure violation of DEP's rules and regs. We don't get to say, Clea, go ahead and build, even though you don't have.
so when they ask you about when the foundation plan comes around from the building inspector, if there's something you can do to help me out, it would be, that's why I was here tonight, to see if there was some way that I could, get started on those foundations. Obviously, there's nothing that is gonna cause any issues. We're just about outside the 100-foot buffer as it is.
Now, this one especially, this one is just that teeny, plus whatever the land work is behind it. But,
That's all done, though.
oh, true, that's right.
Everything's graded, it's just all we have to do is literally dig the foundations.
All of these lots were more or less pre-approved under the subdivision plan.
Well, the layouts, the lot lines were, but the placement of the houses weren't.
Right. But the grading and everything was.
Oh, yeah, the grading is all done, without question, that's all, that is,
So anything that really affects anything that we're gonna rule on has already occurred.
except for the digging itself.
Yes and no.
No, there's no yes and no, Joe, we know that.
No, the lots,
Sorry, just to jump in real quick, I think we should be consistent throughout building permits. So if we're gonna allow work within the 100-foot buffer zone without a valid permit, then that's across the board. My personal opinion is if you don't have a valid permit to do the work, you shouldn't be able to do work within the jurisdiction of the commission.
Who was that?
That's Melissa.
Oh,
Oh, there it is.
I
Come
couldn't
down.
tell.
I have everything else highlighted.
see, this one here, you've got the 100-foot buffer there. So it affects this. All right? So we're not really looking at the whole lot. We're looking at this. So this one, I would say, no. But if you back up, you'll see that foundations are not necessarily in the 100. And there should be no reason for us to,
Well, if we start at the beginning, foundation's here, for the garage, but still,
can't see.
So lot one, the whole building is within the 100 foot.
So-
Oh, that's right, the whole thing's inside. Lot 2, about half the building's inside. Sorry, lot 5. Control, this is the 100-foot. And I think virtually the entire house is inside because there's the wetland. And that's the 100. So in all 4 cases,
Everything's in 100.
Yeah,
foundation's
if they're in
inside the 100.
the- If they're inside the 100, then what you say is true. Because we don't meet again until when?
June
Second.
2.
June 2nd?
Yeah, 3 weeks.
Hurts. It's good, the weather's really nice right now. And it's really, it's
Yeah.
Being the
nice to be able
key
to, I mean, literally, I've been working on those lots now for a year and a half. And there's piles of dirt there now that, I mean, we're allowed to do that within the subdivision notice. If I'm digging on that lot, how do you know if I'm not, well, I mean, I'm telling you, but I mean, I would really appreciate if there could be, somebody could just go like this. But, you know, just on a couple of them right now, and then I can, when we come in for the meeting, I could be, it might only be 1A, but Lot 1 and Lot 6 are pretty much ready to go.
Oh. I've said it. We can't
Okay.
give an official blessing that says it's okay to do it.
I heard you, yeah, I got you. I think I heard that.
Has anyone done erosion control inspections on these?
Multiple times.
That has
On my,
been,
on my weekly walks I go through.
that has been inspected more than anything.
So we don't need to inspect anything?
Well,
I've-
we
we
wouldn't
can
say, don't go inspect it.
Yeah.
The question before the commission is, do we want to do an organized group site walk before? Do we want to do whoever would like to go?
I was through last week, so I've seen it.
Well, there's another, I believe, is there a request for an extension on this as well? Or we'll get
For
to
the
that.
site-wide.
That might be helpful for that one, but we could talk about that when we get to that item.
I think an organized site walk might be better.
Want an organ? I don't mind.
You gotta check out the crossings. Those are unbelievable.
No overkill.
Oh, no.
No.
And what about the replication area?
I think we've,
Is that all complete?
I think we planted it just this spring.
Oh, you just planted, okay.
Yeah. And it was supervised by Chris.
By the way, too, Mika, it's June 6th.
Yes, sorry, June
That's okay.
6th.
Just
I don't know why I had the second in my head.
Just avoiding confusion. You must have something big going on that. Oh,
No, I was probably thinking May 2nd from the minutes.
Ah,
and then
okay, that's
messed
it.
me up. Thank you.
so what's the commission's pleasure for a date? Pick a Saturday. I know you're not going to be there.
No, I won't.
know.
I'm out of the country again, see you.
Yeah, next Saturday I won't be
Oh,
around.
next Saturday is Memorial Day weekend, too.
It is?
The 27th, a week from Saturday.
From
The
Saturday.
20
Saturday.
oh.
Next
So the
Saturday.
20th is not Memorial Day, and I probably have plans the 27th anyway. So the 20th could be open, and the 3rd could be open. We could make them Sundays too, instead if we wanted to.
Yeah, I wasn't
That's any
thinking of the
better.
dates when I said organized. Next Saturday, I'm not around, this coming Saturday, I'm not around. And everybody else can have plans for Memorial Day, right?
Right.
So maybe we do it as a catch can.
Or we can organize it for June 3. Because we happen to have a 3-day break, a 3-week break.
I can't make June
You're killing.
Everybody doesn't have to.
Who can, how
No,
many
we
people
don't all
can
have to
make
be there.
the 20th or the 21st?
Yeah, I can make the 20th.
I can make the 20th.
Joe can't.
I can't.
I've seen it.
So I'll tell you what, we're not gonna post because it's only gonna be a couple of us. I'll meet you up there, Glenda, on the 20th at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Site walk, but it sure as hell is not 20 pack.
I forgot how to use this then.
10, perfect. Okay.
Where is this place anyway?
Look
Is it
for
that-
Grizzly Drive.
Big housing development that you can see from Molten Pond. It's Vista, you go.
Yeah,
Just past it, you take a right on, I
Okay.
think it's Vista Drive, is it?
yeah, Vista Drive.
And then you go up, way in the back.
Find your way up the hill.
Yeah, and then
You follow your GPS and drive right in the middle of the pond.
I'll take a right after
That's
Miles.
Britnell. It's up here,
Okay.
so that's Britnell Drive. That would lead you to it.
What's a good meeting spot, Peter? We could tell that later.
Oh, excuse me, let me add these couple people.
There's a pumping station right at the end of, right where Bear Hill 1 ends and Grizzly Drive continues through Britnell.
There, that's where the
That's
pump
where
station
everybody
is.
usually meets, right there.
For this crossing.
Oh. All right.
Yeah, we can do with that. That's fine. At the pump station. Okay, so we'll schedule those for June, and I've already forgotten the date, 6th, 7th.
And I already had Julian sign the extension form, because it's more than 21 days.
Good. Alrighty, that's those four. Look, we have an extension, a request for an extension of order of conditions. So this is the big plan, right?
This is the whole
The
subdivision,
whole subdivision plan, right?
all the roads.
As he said already, phase 1 is still going on, phase 2 we'd like to get to, and so,
Make a motion to extend the order of conditions for 3 years.
well, his request for us to consider a 5-year,
Can we do a
You know,
5? I thought we can
no.
only do
that's just
3.
that I wasn't sure about that in a project like
We
this.
can only do 5 years if it's like an ongoing maintenance, so usually that's like DPW projects or lake management.
Right.
3 is fine, I just
So-
figured I'd be back in
It's
3
like
years.
1,
so-
2, or 3, but we can't go over 3
All right.
per extension.
So for a 3-year,
Second.
discussion? Roll call?
Clock eye. Chintalucci eye.
Williamson, I.
Langer and I.
Don't lie.
I've got you train skip, you're waiting to be pointed at, that's good.
Yeah, I know, I was looking out the corner of my eye and I didn't see your finger, it was too far back.
He's so much better than Melissa.
Hey,
She heard that.
I'll
I know,
say
that's why I said it.
All right, that's all done.
Thank you very, very much, appreciate it, and we'll see you guys, when, what, the 6th, 3rd? 6th.
Yes.
See you
On
then,
the 6th. Thank you so much.
Good night, Cleve.
All right, so Melissa, you're up for reappointment this year. Are you interested in being reappointed?
Yes, I submitted my letter to Tamika.
Ooh, she submitted a letter. How many of those have you received? Not very many.
Linda did too. I gotta
Nice.
get one from Skipper though.
Yeah, because I read them like 2 weeks after she wrote the email. I was like, oops.
Mine's a verbal email,
I gotta check my email more often.
how's that?
You're gonna have to run that by the board.
And I won't get very far.
So I'd like a motion, please, to write a letter of recommendation to reappoint Melissa Danza.
So moved.
Second.
I wanted to vote first.
More discussion? I'll let you vote first. Go ahead, Scott.
Langer and I.
Don't
Williamson,
lie.
Sorry, Joe.
It's my turn.
She said it, go ahead.
All right, Tintalucci eye.
Clock eye.
Oh, but she's going to abstain. Crane eye. I haven't been very good about keeping you in the vote loop, have I, Melissa?
It's okay, I just interject when I need to.
All right, next on the agenda, we have a couple of guests from Mass Wildlife. Here, let me make sure that you're okay to share. They want to introduce us to Biomap. And, oh yeah, let's do that. You should be clear to share the screen.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name's Sarah Wasserman. I'm a Biomap Outreach Specialist with Mass Wildlife, and I'm joined this evening by my fellow Biomap Outreach Specialist, Alec. And yeah, we're really happy to be here to talk a little bit about Biomap, give some background on what it is, its history in Massachusetts, and it is hosted on a new hub site. Been launched for about 6 months now, so we'll do a demo of the site, and we'll be happy to answer any questions. But I think it looks like the sharing went smoothly.
Yes, we're seeing your screen.
Great. All right. So Alec, if you're all set, I'll kick us off, and yeah, we'll just pass it back and forth for this set of slides. And yeah, go take it from there. And yeah, hopefully everyone can see us. I know we're virtual and you're all in person. So speak up if you have any questions or if something doesn't look right. All right. Right. As I said, we're going to do a presentation, about 20-ish minutes, some slides on Biomap. And then we'll demonstrate how to use the website and the online interactive mapper, and then we'll take time for questions and discussion after that. So that's our agenda. As we get started with the content, this first slide, we like to start the presentation by talking about how Massachusetts is teeming with life. And as a Conservation Commission, I'm sure you're all aware, we have nearly 3 million acres of forest, 1,500 miles of coastline, a vast network of rivers, and critical wetlands that support diverse natural ecosystems, which provide habitat for a wide variety of plants and animals. These natural systems offer vital ecological benefits. They filter our air, clean our water, provide food and economic opportunities, mitigate the detrimental effects of climate change, and provide us with recreation opportunities, all of which enrich the quality of our lives. The people of Massachusetts have spent decades protecting these incredible natural resources to help ensure that all life, plants, animals, and people can thrive. However, despite significant progress and conservation successes, our biodiversity is in crisis at the global, national, and state scale. According to a National Wildlife Federation report from 2018, 1/3 of species in the United States are vulnerable, and 1 in 5 species are at high risk of extinction. In Massachusetts, we currently have 432 species on our endangered species list. Threats to our biodiversity include such things such as habitat loss and fragmentation, invasive species, and emerging diseases. And all of these are being compounded by climate change. A recent UN climate report recognized the interdependence of climate, ecosystems, biodiversity, and human societies. And if we want to reverse these trends, urgent action is needed. Which is why we're here today. A little slide shuffle there, but we've landed on the right one. has the word on it, so we know we're on the right one. Which is why we're here today to talk about Biomap, the future of conservation in Massachusetts. And just for a bit of history, Massachusetts has a long history of being a leader with the development of groundbreaking conservation tools. The first Biomap was produced in 2001, followed by Living Waters in 2003, and Biomap 2 in 2010. And over the years, these products have provided a framework for the protection and stewardship of lands and waters critical for biodiversity conservation. It's been heavily utilized by land trusts, state agencies, municipalities, and others, and has been considered a trusted and credible source of information. It's also important to mention that Biomap is the result of an ongoing collaboration between Mass Wildlife and the Massachusetts chapter of the Nature Conservancy, with similar missions, goals, and science-based approaches to conservation. Mass Wildlife and the Nature Conservancy are natural partners to produce and maintain Biomap. And with this latest iteration of Biomap, we go even further. And we like to think of Biomap as more than just a map. We say it is a map, but it is also a tool, and it is a vision for the people of Massachusetts to come together to strategically protect, manage, and restore lands and waters that are most important for conserving biodiversity in the Commonwealth now and into the future. For those who may be familiar with Biomap 2, it follows a pretty similar structure. The conservation targets are grouped into two main elements, which we call core habitat and critical natural landscape. Core habitat identifies areas that are critical for the long-term persistence of rare species and a wide diversity of resilient ecosystems, while critical natural landscape identifies large landscapes and habitat buffers that enhance resilience, maintain connectivity, and support ecological processes. Together, core and critical natural landscape make up 2.4 million acres across the state, and 44% of this is currently permanently protected. And about 90% of what was in Biomap 2 is included in this update, in this new edition of Biomap. There's some shift in certain areas, either change because of areas being developed, but also we've updated the data. We have new methodologies for some of the components, so some areas have also been added. And speaking of components, if we take a deeper dive into the two elements of core habitat and critical natural landscape, they're made up of several components each. And we have them listed here. Some of them include rare species core, aquatic core, priority natural communities, as well as landscape blocks, coastal adaptation areas, among others. And on the next slide, we can see this is an image of what our interactive mapper looks like that we'll be demonstrating in just a little bit. The way we're looking at it right now with the dark and the light green, that is the core habitat and critical natural landscape in their elements view. But if you want to see them as components, now we peel back the layers and they're broken up into many different colors. And in addition to these statewide components, there are also new components in the categories of local and regional data, which I'm going to turn it over to Alec to talk to you about.
Thanks, Sarah, and thank you again for inviting us to speak today. So as Sarah said, we have a few new components, the local and regional scales, and we're really excited, and especially meeting with municipalities and conservation commissions to talk about these locally important habitats. And so these are to assist with that statewide data that Sarah just summarized, but viewing it from each municipal level. So if you think of each statewide habitat from a smaller threshold, that we can see how those different components at a local scale might compare, and they work together with each other. So we have a few examples to show you what that looks like. So Sarah mentioned one component, landscape blocks, which is in critical natural landscapes. These are areas of intact mosaics of forest, aquatic, and wetland habitats that really support high ecological integrity and support wide-ranging species like moose and black bear. And they're also resilient and abundance of the plants and wildlife and plant species that live there. And so these are defined from that statewide perspective, meaning the largest blocks in each region of the state were selected. Oh, see, it does that zoom thing, I just realized. If you add in local landscapes, you see here, it adds that new local scale. And so we're seeing it from each municipal view in that lighter green. And so it's using the same methodologies and the same data that went into the statewide process, but just the thresholds and the sizes are reduced, so you can view it at a different municipal level. So now it's viewing it at each, essentially doing the same process from one town at a time. And so we're looking at those most intact areas from each municipality. And so we can see, looking at the map, just how more relevant adding in that local component really makes it for each community, and even at regional scales, it can be assisting. So another example, we take it from one town at a time. One example we like to look at is Stoughton, just as an example of a few towns in the area where this works really well. The Biomap statewide data you see here is about 6% of core habitat and critical natural landscapes in that dark and light green. And also of note, Avon, the town just neighboring it, is actually the only state with no statewide data built into or visible on there. But if we add in the local components, and you can see now all the different components built into the local data sets, and adds about 25% of Stoughton now is habitat prioritized to inform municipal decisions. So those include things like local rare species habitat in the pink, aquatic and wetland habitat and buffers, along with the local landscapes and vernal pools that you see. So again, a similar pattern, we can see that this area is really adding with that local data, and it's really helpful in viewing it together. We're not saying that this is replacing that statewide. It's important to view it in this way where we have the elements of the core habitat and critical natural landscapes visible, as well as the local, because there is some overlap with those, and you want to look at them together. It just gives a full picture at the municipal level. But if we zoom out and look at the other end of the scale, we also wanted to identify habitats that made a significant contribution to conservations at scales larger than Massachusetts. So recent studies are showing that tree populations in the eastern US are moving north and west in response to climate change at about 10 miles per decade. And one in our area, the tulip tree that you see here, is moving more northward, although through Massachusetts. And so we wanted to identify areas that are regionally connected, or regional connectivity data that's identifying these places that can support this large range shift. And so you can see in the green here, those areas highlighted. What's also not visible here is we have a regional rare species layer that identifies rare species that are highly vulnerable at regional, national, and global scales. So we have essentially a statewide scale, local, and regional scale, and so we can view it in different ways. So we want to take a look at how Rutland and all the data within there, just as an example of all the different data sets, now that we have an understanding of what they are. So if we take a look at the area, about 13% is core habitat, and 36.5% is critical natural landscapes in that dark green and light green, again, from that statewide perspective and the elements. But again, if we peel it back and look at the components there, you can see the different colors and areas that light up. So, for instance, we have the blue aquatic core and wetland cores in the lighter green, most notably along the Ware River in that area. We have several vernal pool cores in those red, you can see. And those are, you can see the different habitats of those vernal pools, as well as sections in the pink of the rare species core, and one forest core up in the north here. And that's for the core habitat components. As well as with the critical natural landscapes, we can see the brown areas of those landscape blocks, as well as some aquatic core and aquatic buffers and wetland buffers. And then if we add in the local data, so again, peeling back to the elements and adding in the local, we can see about 24% of Rutland is prioritized at a municipal level. Again, there is some overlap with the statewide and local data. But now we can highlight some new areas that weren't in that state view. So for instance, local landscapes in the, again, brown, local rare species in the pink, and local aquatic core in the blue, as well as wetland cores in the light green. So it's helping support that statewide data, as well as identifying new areas that now have more information that you can inform your decisions. Another helpful feature in adding in the perspective of protected open space. And this layer comes from MassGIS and in the orange cross-hatching that you see. About 42% of Rutland in this data set is classified as permanently protected, meaning it's protected in perpetuity, as well as other areas. You can also see in the red cross-hatching, we've identified those areas that are managed or owned by Town of Rutland in the red crosshatch. And so viewing and adding in the protected open space helps you understand just the overlay of Biomap and some other data sets you might be working with. We can start to identify some important areas just within Biomap. Just some examples, you can see that large portion of the area in the northwest for that water protection, recreation as well. So for the Berry Falls Wildlife Management Area, you can also see the state park is got quite a lot of data, and we can dive into that with the interactive mapper if you want to see, as well as some areas of agricultural importance along the south here. So just identifying a few areas and understanding how we can interact with other data sets that are available online as well to, again, inform that decision at a municipal level. And lastly, if we zoom out and look at the regional data, you can see how connectivity between your towns and the communities around you really start to work together. So in that orange hatching, you can see how areas just around you kind of connect together and make nice corridors for wildlife species and support this resiliency for climate change adaptation. So I know that was a lot really quickly. We're going to keep going with a little bit more information about the data sets and how we're utilizing it. So I'm going to pass it over to Sarah.
Thanks, Alec. We're going to take a pause just to highlight the difference between Biomap and another map that you may be familiar with, which is offered through the Natural Heritage Atlas, and it's known as Priority Habitat. Priority habitat is codified under the Massachusetts Endangered Species Act. It's a regulatory screening tool that allows the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program to review projects or activities for impacts to state-listed species. This is different than Biomap, which is non-regulatory and is fundamentally a tool to plan and prioritize conservation actions. So I just wanted to take a moment and make sure that was clear, but we move to the next slide, talk a little bit about the interactive map on the website, which is accessible and free on the internet. Users can customize the data display to meet their interests and their needs. So as Alex showed, in terms of different components, selecting what you're interested in or turning different layers on and off, you can do that on the interactive mapper. Focusing in on local and statewide scales, adding in the regional. The map also includes a tool that we can show called a summary report tool that allows the user to draw a specific area of interest, and you can derive information and summary statistics for that area, as well as capture it in an image that you can either export or print. And as with Biomap 2, data are available on Mass Mapper if you're familiar with that online mapper, which is run through MassGIS. And the data is downloadable for use in other analyses if you're somebody who uses, for example, ArcGIS on your desktop. When it comes to the real value of Biomap, we see that in going from understanding to implementation on the ground. And in that sense, Biomap supports a wide variety of conservation strategies. As we've seen on the map, Biomap habitats occur in a wide variety of settings across the state, and each of these habitats needs specific combinations of conservation strategies. Some may need a single approach, and many require multiple actions to achieve conservation successes. So on that theme, we have a few slides. This first one is about land protection, which is one strategy to stop habitat loss and fragmentation. As I said, kind of toward the beginning of our presentation, core habitat and critical natural landscape make up 2.4 million acres in the state. And in this map, in the orange, layered on top of the green, those are the areas that are currently permanently protected, excuse me, approximately 44% of Biomap area. Allergy season, what can I say? I think it's important to note that there are over 200,000 acres of land protection that took place in Massachusetts between the years of 2009 and 2022. And of those 200,000 acres, 62% of that protection occurred within the bounds of Biomap 2 core habitat and critical natural landscapes. So it is our hope that with this new iteration of Biomap, we will continue to focus conservation funding and effort on these critically important habitats. And while land protection is essential, it is often not enough. And this is because over 40% of rare and declining species in Massachusetts require active management of their habitats. And that is why habitat restoration and management are key elements of Massachusetts' Biomap conservation strategy. Biomap now includes a Habitat Restoration Resource Center, which provides our conservation partners with recommendations and resources for stewardship actions that promote habitat resilience, restore ecological processes, and prepare habitats to recover from and adapt to climate change. And the Habitat Restoration Resource Center, which is on the Biomap website, so we can show that in just a moment. It provides guidance to land managers on restoration and management priorities and site planning. There are also fact sheets that include information on all of the different upland, wetland, and aquatic habitat types in Massachusetts, and on specific practices such as prescribed fire, mowing and mulching, and invasive plant control. The Habitat Restoration Resource Center also includes resources for technical assistance and identifies potential funding opportunities. And we're in the home stretch of our slides here, and I will pass it back to Alec.
Great. So another quick note on new updates to Biomap. We have also added in climate resiliency data into Biomap. And this is most notably from the Nature Conservancy's resiliency data. So this is helping us identify places that help plants and animals and people cope with the impacts of climate change. And so you can see, hopefully a little bit in the map, some areas highlighted in the green. Those are going to be identifying ecosystems and landscapes with diverse topography and habitat connectivity. So allowing plants and animals to move to suitable habitat in response to climate change, specifically temperatures, changes in temperatures and precipitation. So in also doing that for plants and animals, we also know that this is helping. A healthy ecosystem can also provide a lot of great benefits for us, absorbing floodwaters and posing risk that pose risk to people and property, storing groundwater to mitigate droughts, and cool climates to mitigate against heat waves. So adding in that data directly, as you can see in the wetland core, forest core, and landscape block components, really helps them better identify some of these key areas. So that's a quick note on that. We're happy to go into more about how that data was directly built into it if you're familiar. I just wanted a quick note on that. But really, as with the previous iteration, Biomap really is continuing to support conservation planning, funding, and collaboration, informing and directing millions of conservation dollars each year. And this not only makes sense from conservation perspective, but it provides a high return on investment for our conservation dollars because Biomap habitats are designed to stand the test of time and support biodiversity and resiliency now and long into the future. And so we see that happening in many different ways and different plans. Just as some examples to discuss here. We've spoken to land trusts, state agencies, and a growing number of municipal organizations or town boards about how they can incorporate it into their work, whether it's planning or prioritizing areas for conservation actions. So just two good examples. One, the Essex County Greenbelt has a really rigorous land prioritization process from Biomap 2, utilizing that data. We also noticed in the Rutland Open Space Plan from 2017 does include the Biomap core habitat areas as well as natural heritage data. And so it's a great example of how you can kind of incorporate that in this proactive conservation planning. We've seen MVP plans and master plans as well incorporating this. And we're particularly excited by this emerging opportunity for cities and towns to take advantage of Biomap with these local data sets and updated data. And so, as I said, speaking with many municipal groups on how we can help incorporate this and provide resources to support their use of it. And we do this in different ways and providing education and engagement. So doing presentations like this is really a key way for us to engage. But we're also in the website, we also have many resources to go through all the things that we've talked about today, as well as additional information on the data and methodologies and how to utilize it. So we have things that are called story maps, which are interactive websites that walk you through information and give you resources and links that you can, it's really engaging and helpful for understanding and educating people. We understand that this awareness or ecological literacy will really allow individuals and groups to engage and take action, as well as make informed decisions. And that's our main goal with this. And we also include fact sheets, as I said, to go into specifics about the methodologies and conservation strategies. Pass back to Sarah.
Ultimately, Biomap envisions a future in which the people of the Commonwealth invest in the strategic protection and stewardship of the lands and waters that are most important for conserving biodiversity. In this future, these vital natural systems continue to protect us against the damaging effects of climate change. They continue to provide clean air, clean water, employment opportunities, and beautiful spaces for recreation. And they continue to ensure that all Massachusetts residents have access to nature and enjoy the benefits of our rich natural heritage. With Biomap, we can protect our extraordinary biodiversity and vibrant quality of life now and for future generations. As we're wrapping up, just want to take a moment to acknowledge all of the hard work that went into making Biomap, as well as the financial support from the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, the Nature Conservancy, and numerous donors. And as you can see in this paragraph of names, it was a huge team effort to make this new edition of Biomap and get it off the ground. So we're very glad for all of the people who have helped make this happen. So that brings us to the end of our slides. This is the link to get to the Biomap Hub site, which we will demonstrate, do a little walkthrough just right now. But we want Biomap to be as useful as possible to as many people as possible, which is why we've been reaching out to towns to do presentations, to answer questions. And the reason it's Biomap, just Biomap, and not Biomap 3, for example, is because we want Biomap to be a living product. So more content and data will be added over time in a more dynamic format versus static, from one edition to the next. So in that vein, I will pass it back to Alec, who's going to give us the walkthrough of the website, do a short demonstration of using the map, and then we can take some questions.
Just confirm, hopefully that switched to the website, it looks like.
Yes, it
Yeah, looks good to me.
Okay. So if you were to go to that short link, mass.gov/biomap, this is the homepage you'll see here. And as Sarah said, it's called a hub site. It's a Esri hub site using this GIS product that we'll show you. So you can see there's many different buttons and resources. The top 4 tabs you see here are the main tabs that we're going to go through. But on the homepage, we have some different links. So for instance, how to use Biomap is going to go over how to utilize the interactive mapper in a story map fashion. Also, what's new if you're looking at comparing to Biomap 2 or just as we're continuing to release new resources. And if we scroll down, this is where that interactive mapper is embedded directly into the homepage. And so you can utilize it here. Or you can click on this View Full Screen button or the Interactive Mapper tab at the top, and it'll open into a new tab. And we'll come back to that in just a second. If we continue to scroll down, we have 4 more important buttons. One is the data downloads and resources. So if you click on that, it'll open the page. If you're a GIS user that wants to download this data, you can do so from this link right here. We also will have a technical report that is coming out soon that really goes into the methodologies and creating this data set. And so this is where it would be if you're interested in that, as well as other links and resources that can be really helpful. But if we go back to the homepage again, we have a link to the Habitat Restoration Resource Center, as well as Connect with Us. This is, we give our direct emails at the beginning there. You can get in touch with us that way. You can also fill out an experience survey, so how it's going or giving us feedback. That's really important for us as we are engaging and want to make sure that as we continue to develop resources like webinars, tutorials, or PDF tutorials that can help you walk through this information or help you do a certain action, we want to collect that feedback, and that's one way we can do that. So please feel free to send us emails or information that can assist. We're open for all questions and feedback. And then lastly, if you want to learn more about supporting endangered species conservation, I'll link here. So those are the homepage. If we were to go back to the top or go to Biomap Components, this is going to go through what we just talked about, all the different components and layers that are built into this. So we can see we have these 3 buttons. That's going to bring us to a story map. If we click on one of those, this is what it would look like. So you can walk through the information and really understand why it's important in all these different components. You can see the core habitat, critical natural landscapes, local and regional. And then as you scroll through, you'll see each component associated. So you get some information, some really nice engaging pictures, as well as links to additional resources. So for instance, to a fact sheet. So if you were to click on this, it will open up a page that gives you some summary statistics about this, as well as goes into the methodologies at all the different scales that might be for that component, and then some conservation strategies. And these, if you're someone that wants to just dive right into that, if you go back to that components page and scroll down, those fact sheets are available there as well. So providing different ways for people to get this information and engage in different ways is, we found, really helpful. If we move on to the Habitat Restoration Resource Center, this tab at the top, there's just a lot of resources in here, again, going into habitat restoration and management, as that is really essential in providing this habitat. So we have things like, again, a story map going through why this is important and essential, as well as just resources many different ways. So If you're new to planning or prioritizing for management, this link can help you walk through creating management plan and just key information about how to utilize that. And also, if you're looking for technical support or learning about funding for habitat restoration and management, this link is really helpful, or brings you to another page with many supporting links. But the meat of it is in these habitat management recommendations page here. So if we click on that, it'll open this up, and it breaks it down into 3 main categories: uplands, wetlands, and aquatic habitats. And similar to the fact sheets, we essentially have every habitat in the Commonwealth divided into these fact sheets. And if you were to, so for instance, you may have a vernal pool in your area and you want to learn how to help manage it. You can click on this and it'll open up a fact sheet for the vernal pools. And so you can see, if we scroll down, we have habitat description, main threats that you might find, as well as management and restoration recommendations, such as revegetation or water quality. So just understanding habitats and how you can better manage and support them, and resources that we can help provide that. So although not a data set, it is also supporting all of the work that's going into those data. So that's a quick bridge version of all the information there. I certainly encourage you to go through some more of it, but if you want to take a quick look at the map, we can do that either on this homepage or click this interactive mapper. And this is what you'll see here. Oh, I had one turned off, it seems. This is the map. As you see, I can interact with it in many different ways. We can zoom in and out with the buttons on the top here. The home looking button will bring us back to that statewide view. This compass button here, my location, this is both the hub site and the interactive map are compatible for smartphones. So if you're someone that likes to go for walks and see what's around you, you can click this button and it'll show a GPS location of where you are in the map. So this can be helpful for people that are working in the field or just wanting to see what is around them. So that will be helpful. Then you can, on the top here, we can search for a specific area. You can do just a town, you can do a full address, or even a latitude and longitude numbers. And you can see I searched Rutland, clicked enter, or chose what I was selecting, and it zoomed directly to that area. It's going to highlight it in this teal color you see here, and it's going to give you this pop-up window. And this has some information just about that layer there. We can click the X box to close that. You can see now that we've zoomed in, the legend on the right shows the data that's visible, so the elements that are visible here. We can also click the information if you want to learn more or go back to that hub site about how to utilize or how to use this mapper. If we want to, you can see where there is no data is this gray base map. We can change that if you want to. So this button here is the base map gallery. It gives us 6 different options, a couple of which are these ortho imageries or aerial imagery. If you want to see what's going on the ground, it can be really useful for understanding development or areas that are maybe not in the not as visible in like a topographic or in the gray scale way that we just had. So it gives you a couple of different options, but I'm going to keep it to this just for our eyes for right now. So you can change that base map with that left button. The button in the middle, as you may have saw, is that select data button. So if we click on that, you can also drag it to make it a little bit bigger. You can see all the different layers that are available in this map. Next to it are these check boxes. So when there's a check mark in there, that means it's turned on. So you can see, and then there's little arrows next to it that show us what's underneath each group. So as we said, there's core habitat components, and if we click the little arrow, it's going to show us each of those. So right now we're looking at it from that elements view, but if we wanted to peel back and see each of the components, we could turn them on in that checkbox. You can see the legend updates, but the map doesn't update, and that's because we still have this biomap element selected. So once we turn that off, now we can view the components underneath it. And that's important to note because the order in which from top to bottom is the drawing order, the order in which they'll be shown on the map. So just make sure if you're not seeing something, it's because something above it is overlaid on top and is blocking that. So you can see we have the different colors now. And what's really nice is you can actually click on this and you can get a pop-up window for all the different polygons or the different areas in that map of biomap data. So you can see if there's multiple, 1 of 10 in this area, and then you can filter through them with these arrows. So So this is nice for understanding more about that information, getting, for instance, acreage for the polygon, as well as some information about, say, aquatic core and some resources that identify with it. You can click the link if you want to learn more about that component if you have questions about it. And again, just filtering or cycling through and seeing the different pop-up windows. We can also turn on the local components. That's going to add in, again, the local data set. We also have the assessor's parcels and the permanently protected open space layer here. And so that's helpful, again, for understanding that overlap with land protection. So again, we can click on these and they are going to show us some more information about those areas. And then you can see the assessor's parcels is a little grayed out. And that's because it is scale dependent. Some of these layers, you do have to zoom in or zoom out to be visible. So we can turn it on, but it's not going to be visible. And that's because we have to zoom in far enough for that to be now visible, and you can see it drawing. You can also click on these three dots and there's some more helpful tools of zooming to it or transparency if you want to make it more or less transparent, or moving it in the different orders of this list. So that is all the data sets built into it. Lastly, the third button here, I'm going to turn a few of these off real quick. The third button here is the summary report tool, which we mentioned. That helps you summarize information in two different ways. You can see place name and draw. So we can search for a full town. It'll zoom to that area, and then we can click report. If we click report, it's going to, depending on your connection, it'll take a little bit of time. It'll go through that, and it's going to essentially just collect all the information within that boundary and summarize it for us. And once it's completed, this print button here will become visible. And you can click on that, choose a page layout, so the size, so you can see. So for instance, letter, just a normal 8x11 portrait, and we click print. Once we do that, it'll open up this new PDF window. And I preloaded this before just because it takes a little bit of time, but it includes a map based on what was visible at that time and the scale that you had the map set at when you hit that print button. And you can see it has the legend of all the layers that I had selected at the time, a scale bar, and some areas that add a caption. You can change the titles and change all the information there. And then if we scroll down, it's summarizing all the different components that are in the town, the number of polygons, number of areas in each of these categories, as well as the total acreage for those. And then it breaks them down in their individual components. So this can be helpful for summarizing that information quickly, as well as producing that map. We are working on updating this information and making it, adding in different features to it. So certainly let us know as you're utilizing it. And that's one way in doing it for the full town view. But if we go back and choose draw and then start over, we have two options: draw polygon and select by rectangle. So if we didn't want to do an entire town, if we wanted to just do, I happen to zoom here, just one area, we could choose this polygon and we could say, oh, I just want to know kind of what's around the state park roughly. And I just, using my mouse, just drawing and clicking, and then double click to end. And now it's going to do a report for just that area. So that can be really helpful for understanding a certain, just for summarizing information at a certain area. You can also kind of outline a parcel or a permanently protected open space area. But if you don't want to painstakingly draw that boundary, you can also do it from the select rectangle. And with the assessor's parcels, we can choose, if we drag and draw a little box there, it's going to select a parcel, and then you can run a report for just one parcel or multiple parcels. So you can go back and add more. So that's a quick demonstration. There's quite a lot of information and ways to utilize it. I don't want to take up too much of your time with it, and certainly as you're playing with the mapper or going through the website, we certainly can follow up with any questions, and I dive more deeply into a specific area if you have questions right now. But I'll pause and see if you have any questions or want me to take a look at anything more specifically.
One of the things that came to mind as I was thinking about this, and I'm going to channel Dick Williams for a minute. He has a particular penchant for wildlife corridors. and the movement of wildlife. Is there something in there today to help us analyze some of that?
The short answer is yes. The regional connectivity layers are designed with that idea in mind, corridors, connectivity. It identifies places where wide-ranging species are traveling, and especially in the context of climate change, where they might be going based on, science and, this objective data. So that's the short answer, that, corridors, the wildlife, but connectivity is really a central theme throughout Biomap, not just in the regional layers, but in the statewide and the local. There's a lot of overlap, and that idea is definitely behind that.
All right, thank you. That was a ton of good information for us. Thank you very, very much. I gave a really bad introduction, and I apologize. Sarah cold called me, basically, to tell me about it, and I thought, with everything we've been discussing about lately, this could be a really good tool for us to use as we move forward with some of our conservation and our project-based work.
I'm glad to hear, and glad that you invited us to speak. We're both outreach specialists, so this is kind of our bread and butter, and we're always happy to do it and answer questions.
All right. Cool. Anything else we'd like to know? I think we're great for now. Thank you very much. We'll start playing. You'll hear from us, I'm sure.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, don't hesitate to reach out to either of us in the future with any questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us. Bye.
Okay. Yay. That's another element off our agenda. Check. But, as I said, I firmly believe there's some very good information for us to use there.
That's where you can select by parcel. That's amazing. I need it.
So someday I may actually want to start asking questions like exactly where the data set came from, what the sources are, so we can determine the valuability of the value of the data.
Peter,
Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering if the commission would be willing to take some items out of order, because I know Peg is here for the forest cutting plan.
Yes, I was actually going to, we went to Biomap because they showed up. So I'm entirely, without objection, unless there's an objection, we're going to take item number 5 next. So, there are forest cutting plans. We have 2 of them. Oh, wait, I think I did reshare. Good, I did. So now let me go with this. Not that. Not that. There we go. There's a forest cutting plan. So this is the one for Irish Lane. It was up on the share. So, I don't think there's anything.
This is not for forest.
Right, this is an FYI.
Yes.
But I figured I'd get through it just to get through it. When people keep sticking their heads in. There we go. Questions or comments on the Irish Lane forest cutting plan? Nope.
So
Good.
does the commission normally provide, I know that the commission has 10 days to provide comments back to the state on any forest cutting plan, but I mean, there's leeway there. They'll give you more time if you need it to provide comments, but does the Rutland Concom usually oversee any of the forest cutting plans, or they just kind of let DCR deal with them?
Tend to let
DCR
Because it's their jurisdiction.
Yeah.
We have no veto power.
Right,
forest
but they
cutting
do
plan.
take your comments into consideration.
Yep, they do.
Like if you're saying, hey, they're cutting too close to a vernal pool, or why are there so many crossings, or why is, like this Irish Lane, for example, was this the one that had like a 35-foot wetland crossing? Did I see? It was a really wide, unusually wide crossing.
It's up at the beginning.
Yeah, so, yeah. Wait a second, probably had right here. Type of crossing, culvert, bridge, ford, pole, or other. I guess it's up above.
I don't know where I saw it. I thought I saw it.
Right there.
Yep, but there's no crossings
Okay,
indicated.
maybe that was the Pleasantdale one.
Right, this one does not have crossings in it, according to their plan. So, we of course reserve the right to make comments. We have not made many over time. So let's move on to Pleasantdale Road, shall we? Okay.
Length of crossing 40 feet.
Length is 40.
Well, the BMP's, the forester will say they have to cross the narrowest point.
As we get down to the map, it should point itself out fairly easily.
The BMP stuff.
Or to good.
Who is the, is it Chris Capone here? Is your region, it's Chris Capone also? Because I didn't know if it was,
Well, that's interesting. This doesn't have a wetland crossing shown. But harvesting in wetlands, they are.
They're down, it's down further.
Yeah.
I think Jacob is actually our forester, Jacob Seidel.
Melissa, we're having a little trouble hearing you.
Jacob something?
Jacob Seidel is our forester.
Oh,
Okay.
never heard of him.
I've only worked with Chris.
There is no map. This is the end of the file.
There's no map?
There's no map.
We should be asking DCR where it is.
Yeah, huh?
Or maybe the file got truncated somehow.
I don't know, they included the certificate.
Weird.
But, oh yeah, and in fact, here it says,
I'd like to see where it is, huh?
I can provide you that information.
please identify yourself.
Yes, thank you for that. I'm John Nolet. I am the steward of this property by way of power of attorney for the Brown Family Trust, the Lois Brown Family Trust. My wife is Laurel Brown Nolet. She is a trustee of this property, along with her sisters Paula Kennedy and Nancy Holzner.
Excuse me for 1 second. I see a Laurel online. Is that her?
That's my wife,
Okay.
yeah. So she's keeping an eye on me tonight. She's the boss, I'm just the project manager, so.
I get it.
I can
Thank you.
show you this map for the forest cutting plan. I don't know why it was submitted with the application.
All righty. Here, let me just place this here.
Yeah, it was in the online one that Tameka posted too.
Who? Temecca?
Tameka. The one, Tamika, the one you posted had the map on it.
I know.
This is what I pulled off the website
I
today.
know. That's
What did you do?
Very weird. Peter's trying to blame it on you.
Darn straight I will.
Like right here.
That's the Pleasantdale.
Oh, Pleasantdale. Oh, is this the first cutting plan on the property?
Yes, to my knowledge. It used to be a working farm. Paul Haynes was the original owner, with his wife Alice. They bought it some 65, 70 years ago. It was a gentleman's farm, a retirement property, per se. And Lois H. Brown, H stands for Haynes, is their daughter, was their daughter. She's passed away. And this has come to us by way of the trust.
Yeah, I don't see an issue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I could see that once more, please, I just want to.
Sure, okay.
This is the Irish Lane one. There are a couple of them.
So if I understand the map correctly,
Yes.
right, so we have, so are there cuttings here, right?
This is access. There's an
That's
old-
access,
There's
okay.
an old existing farming trail here that's grown in.
Ah, okay,
That we're
yeah.
going to use as a crossing. This is the primary timber area, so there'll be a road heading west, northwest to, this is the highest point of the property, and I believe that this is one of the highest points in the town of Rutland. There's a monument up there with an elevation marker, and some existing stone wall here, and there's also the split here, goes on the southern edge, once again heading north. So the harvesting will be done up high in here, away from the road and away from this corner here, as highlighted. Pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't have any heartache with that at all.
No, just trying to make sure I understand. So the wetlands aren't, well, this whole area is wetlands, I assume, based on.
There is a wetlands as marked here.
Yep,
And there's a small wetlands up in this
Up there.
area, which we're gonna stay away from.
okay. Yeah, because you're really doing more in the spots that are,
Elevated,
yeah.
it's mostly firewood, there is some marketable timber, but it's gonna improve the quality of the property in the sense that the forest is gonna be better for this harvest. So, thank you.
You're welcome. So, 1 second, hold on. I will go to the next thing, which is a letter, which, were we CC'd on this directly, or, because this is clearly not written to us, but describing some potential issues with the cutting plan. So please, introduce yourself and.
Thank you. My name is John Myrick, and I represent Peg and David Sullivan, who have a lease to about 5 acres of this property. We have a couple of concerns. The first one is on the map that was shown around. The area that's shown as excluded doesn't correspond to the area that's leased. The easy example is the frontage on Pleasantdale Road. The lease says there's 420 feet of frontage. The excluded area is no more than 250 feet, according to the scale, which is part of the map. So there's some problems there. But more importantly, there's no natural delineation of the boundary. The previous forest plan that you had up there for Irish Lane, you may have noticed when they had the areas all flagged. Some were flagged with flags, some were flagged with red blazes, but it was clearly marked. There's absolutely nothing here that's going to say to the logger, you can go to this spot and no further. I'm not sure it's within the province of the Conservation Commission to tell the landowner they have to do that, but we needed a place to start, so we came to you guys first. But I guess I'm speaking myself as someone who owns about 260 acres of forest land in Princeton that we've had cut from time to time. And foresters are good, loggers are good, but sometimes the guy with a chainsaw doesn't really know where he's supposed to stop. And Peg and Dave want to be certain that when this area is logged, and Mr. Nolet can do whatever he wants, provided it's not in the leased area. Our concern is only that there be some real delineation so that when the logger is on the site, there won't be a problem. It's a little concern because the forester says he's not going to supervise the cutting. And that's right in the plan. His language, I had it highlighted a minute ago, and of course now I can't find it. Hold on a second. Yeah, it's on page 6. He says, plan preparer is preparing the plan only. No operational oversight is to be provided. And of course, the problem is, once you cut a tree down, it's down. If the forester were going to be there supervising the cutting, And if the excluded area was properly marked, Peg and David would have no concerns at all. We've unfortunately had a history of disagreements with the landowner. I had to represent Peg and Dave in court about a decade ago to establish that in fact they actually had a lease, and the lease is good for as long as they want to live there. I did suggest to Mr. Nolet that I would be happy to walk the property with him, to go through and actually mark the boundaries and make sure they correspond to the lease. I haven't heard back, but maybe tonight he can respond to that. I think I sent a copy of the letter in on that. And I sent a similar letter to the forester saying, here's a problem, I'd be happy to walk the property with you, and I haven't heard back from him either. As I say, I don't know that you folks can do anything because marking the boundary may not actually be within the wetlands aspect of it, but we wanted to start someplace, and so here we are.
Well, what you say is true. I will say we have seen cutting plans go astray. Enough of them. I can understand the concern. I'm going to ask Melissa. Melissa, would you care to speak about our authority in this case or in this condition?
The authority is, I think, what Glenda got to earlier in terms of we can make comments to the forester in terms of wetlands protection, but in terms of boundaries or where they're cutting, that remains with the DCR.
Okay.
Yeah, I would recommend he send your comments directly to whoever whoever the forester with the state always goes and does an inspection. And normally that includes the limits of cutting are marked on the site. I mean, that's like a normal requirement. I've been on forest cutting walks with Mike Downey, Chris Capone, and that's always, everything's always supposed to be marked. So it's crazy if it's not marked. That you go directly to the state with your concerns.
All right, we'll go I think this is the District 5. Princeton is a different district, so I haven't dealt with this particular service forester, but I can find out who he is and get in touch with him.
Yeah,
Jacob is very responsive, so I have no doubt you'll get a response from him and to your questions.
See, it seems to me that you're asking to delineate a portion of this land to be treated differently, according to a lease. And inside that lease is the delineation described in the lease.
It is described in the lease. Mr. Nolet had a professional surveyor out there last fall. I asked for a copy of the plan that the surveyor prepared, and I was politely told by the surveyor, it's not his, he can't give it to me, it's got to come from Mr. Nolet.
It would have to go.
Understandable. Mm-hmm. But there's an actual plan that was done, and from that, it shouldn't be hard to actually mark things. But I will go to the service forester and be...
That's what I think. So the question is, should we write a letter ourselves?
At this juncture, I wouldn't do that, only from the standpoint this is more of a legal land barrier or boundary.
Well, I was actually thinking that we wouldn't ask about the lease area specifically being delineated, but I would
right. But that's what they're asking.
He wants limit of work.
But that's exactly right. I think a well-defined limit of work marked out properly on the property serves all of our interests, and I think that it makes sense for us to make sure that would be asked for.
Okay, what if they just decide to go annihilate the 100-foot buffer or whatever, and just cut everything out the stream filter strip or whatever?
I think we let.
If I could.
Please.
I think Mr. Merrick misspoke, and there is delineation on this plan, on the map that I just showed you folks, where we are not going to cut, that we are going to stay away from. And the land does have a formal survey. We've done our due diligence here. We've been planning this for a year, The logging activity is to improve the land and the forest while harvesting marketable renewable resources or wood products on this property for the benefit of the log owners. Over the last year, we have researched and planned this logging activity and prepared for your consideration this meeting tonight, the property at 84 Pleasantdale Road. In that time, we have identified a licensed logger for the state of Massachusetts, and we've also had a plan that's been approved by the state to log this property. This particular activity is an obstruction of no need. We are not going to infringe on the Sullivans. We are going to use this property as good land stewards. Recently, we demolished the old farmhouse on this property that was permitted through this town for reclamation, demolition, removal of materials, and we returned this property back to basically a green field. So we are good land stewards, and we are not going to go in there and clear cut and abuse this land. This is a legacy property of the Haynes Brown family. We respect it, and we want to treat it well. This is part of that process.
Is the limit of work actually flagged in the field, though? It's on a map, but is it flagged in the field? On a piece of
It
property?
could be flagged at the field.
That's kind of what,
That's all I was thinking
one
about.
of those, it
that we
should be,
would ask
it's
for.
one of those, it's there, but you know what, you read the map, if it's flagged in the field, I think that takes care of,
How hard would it be for you to provide a copy of that survey to Attorney Myrick?
It's available, I believe. It's a registered.
well, if it's registered, it's registered.
It's registered?
Registered deeds.
I hadn't realized you recorded it. If it's recorded, we can get a copy there.
It's been recorded.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. But again, Mr. Nolet, if you look on the map here, there's a scale on the map, and it should be 420 feet of frontage on Pleasantdale Road according to the lease. And if the scale is at all accurate, it's less than 250.
It doesn't obstruct us from entering the property on that old road. And we
Yep.
will not be harvesting on that area of the land.
With all respect, I don't believe you have any right to enter onto the area that is leased,
I believe you're wrong.
right? Have your attorney give me a call. We can resolve that, and if we have to, we can go back to
We're
court
here
again.
tonight to present for approval.
Yep.
You're trying to do a property line dispute.
Right.
That doesn't belong in this meeting.
No.
That's
We
my
have
opinion.
no jurisdiction over
I mean,
that.
I would think if it was flagged in the field,
Yeah.
that's kind of what we look for, because, you know, whoever's running around with a chainsaw, they can go, ooh, I shouldn't go over there.
Yeah.
That's,
We've had that happen.
Yeah.
that's more, that would be our comment to anybody.
So
And we
noted.
don't know any, like, we're not attorneys, we don't know about leases.
don't care about
and
it.
cutting rights on leases.
We don't care about
Yeah.
it even.
So noted.
Right.
So
It's
agreed.
Not
Yeah.
our
We
jurisdiction.
We would flag that.
Yeah, if you flag the limit of
This cutting
cutting,
plan.
that takes care, of, as far as I'm sure, it takes
That
care of
takes
us.
care of our
That-
concerns.
Whatever we have
Whatever
authority
we-
over,
right.
that's.
I'm sure it doesn't satisfy all of their needs, but that's
Right.
something you folks have to work out, that
Yeah.
we don't have any jurisdiction.
Right.
Thank you, folks.
You're welcome.
Appreciate your time.
Right.
Thank you,
And we appreciate your time as well.
Yeah, certainly.
thank you.
Okay.
Are you any relation to Stephen?
Yes, Steve's he looks older than I am, but he's my younger brother.
Okay. I know Steve for many, many years.
We'll tell him you said that.
He turned prematurely gray when he was about 60. And so we've had great fun of who's the older brother and so forth.
All right, moving on.
Thank
Good
you.
night, thank
You're
you.
welcome. So we have money for a conservation agent. Wahoo.
Yay.
No, we don't.
Well, we will July 1. Fine. You're right.
Don't try to ruin the fun, Joe.
Let's not spend it before we got it.
Isn't that a specialty of the town?
Yes. It's a specialty of any government entity.
Moving on. So,
Just delete that.
someone can try and remind me. I know that we had discussed setting up an IMA, an intermunicipal agreement with Paxton to have a shared conservation agent position. Did we ever vote on that?
I don't remember voting on it.
I don't either, but I want to make sure, because I don't remember.
I don't think we did.
So,
No, I think we were gonna wait to see if we could even do it.
right.
Paxton, did they hire someone?
Not last I checked. I haven't looked the last couple of weeks, but not last I
Yeah.
checked. So,
I don't think we would have voted on it because we didn't
we
have.
didn't have it, right.
Yeah.
Since we are having, so, let's have a discussion about having an intermunicipal agreement with Paxton. I mean, we should probably have a motion first, so let's have some.
Do we, one question first.
Yes.
Is that something we need to go through select board or town administrator because we're going outside the bounds of the town?
We absolutely have to get the town administrator, and at the end of the day, the select board also have to approve it.
Okay.
So I figure since the job starts July 1, that we should start that process sooner rather than later.
Yep.
So,
Well, I made a motion to discuss.
actually,
second.
let's get a good the good motion is to begin the process of,
Conservation agent position.
there you go, that works.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Do you want me to do you want to specify IMA in the motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what he meant to say.
I know what skip means.
No, you've worked with me long enough, come on.
So,
So I
what do,
think
I'm sorry, go ahead,
Paxton
Melissa.
did- Paxton did hire an agent. There's someone listed on their website.
Oh, they did. Well, we can still,
Well, it's easy enough to make a phone call and find out.
I'll say.
Still want,
It
still
states one of
interested.
our board members works for Paxton Town Clerk. I
So-
actually worked there for a week.
I would have fired you
I
too.
did it for a week, but it was only, it was
She
like
didn't hear you.
12
I know she
hours.
didn't. She's ignoring me,
I'm
actually.
trying to. I couldn't, it was too hard. I wasn't as talented as Mia McDonald apparently, because I couldn't work out of my car.
So what was the,
We need a second.
you got one
Oh,
from
yeah.
Joe?
Joe.
there.
Oh,
Joe second.
Okay, thank you.
So
Listen.
what was the hours we were talking?
Who's paying for it?
We are.
Well, we'll be paying for our portion and they're paying for their
What
portion.
are we paying for it out of?
That we have a
It's
budget,
a line
It's in the
item in the
override.
general budget.
general fund.
Came with the override.
Oh, so spend more money. Good.
How many hours do you want them?
If I remember right, I budgeted
If I
10 hours a
took
week.
10, yeah, and then 4
Yeah.
for Paxton.
That's what we talked about.
And we were gonna supply her with all of whatever she needed, laptops, blah, 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 blah.
We absolutely have a budget line item that comes actually out of Wetlands Protection Fund for what she needs.
Administrative costs.
Yeah.
We can't even get sweatshirts.
Do you need a sweatshirt?
I need a sweatshirt.
Remind me to put sweatshirts in the budget next year from the general fund.
Can we get the fluorescent orange ones? So when we go out in the woods, we're not gonna get
Easy to
shot.
see us, right?
So, what do we think about,
What are we talking money-wise for wages? Anybody, any ideas?
Are we discussing the motion, or do you want to vote on the motion?
no, we're just discussing the
Okay,
motion.
got it.
I can tell you in just a
We had that
moment.
on,
I can tell you in a minute what I budgeted,
It was 21 and change, I think.
yeah. But I
Thought it
mean,
was-
in terms of hourly, what the hourly rate
I
is.
thought it was like $40, wasn't it? 38 something?
It's pretty close to
Something
that.
like that.
I found the slot in the MTP that was closest.
Yeah, it was an odd number, wasn't it?
It was a weird, very weird number, which was as close as I could get to the number Paxton said they were gonna pay based on our charts.
Okay.
That stinks, they hired someone. Well, that doesn't mean you can't just have your own part-time agent.
That's right, so and this is the core question, do we want to team up? And one of the benefits of teaming up is we might get the whole darn thing paid for, so we don't even need to expend the budget.
I would try to team up
With a
first.
regional position.
Yeah, I would try to team up.
Well,
It makes
why
them,
don't you
it makes them,
solicit this Douglas Dillon and see if, are
Well,
we
you know-
allowed to do that?
It might be better for us to eat that. I'm talking about the administrative cost, all right, rather than attempt any share on that. We could go out and advertise now for a 10-hour week, part-time position, all right, and provide all of the necessary paraphernalia that they may need, all right. This way here, we don't get into any discussion if a person, a shared person decides to leave one town or the other, and then, how do you divvy up the shared paraphernalia if it's
Well, I would also.
written into budgets on both towns, you know what I'm saying?
I don't know all the ins and outs of this, but it would seem to me that the computer, if we were to purchase one, is for Rutland. And for the Rutland activities, and that would not be a shared resource.
Right.
Could the vests and the auger? Sure, they could be small things.
I think it's more important that whoever is like diligent enough to like be honest about their hours that they put in Paxton versus like keeping those separate.
Yeah, but we would be watching them, I would assume.
You gonna spy on them?
You, it's my money, it's my taxes, it's your taxes. And they
Hire
gotta do
a
their
private
job and do it right.
Right.
So the core question is shared resource with Paxton or not?
Yes.
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 Yes, okay.
It's worth,
And so, I'm sorry, go ahead, Melissa.
Should we even be making a vote at this point? I think maybe if we can just talk to Paxton in the meantime. And I
Bless you.
don't think a vote would be necessary to at least put the feelers out, and then we can start to.
Right. Actually, Skip, I'm going to ask you to change your motion to investigate.
Okay,
And I am
so
that.
moved.
And that way,
Investigate.
that way we're covered. You're exactly right, Melissa. We should not be making a decision today on an agreement we haven't done yet.
Right.
So,
I'll second again, if that's necessary.
It is.
and he did. So,
Who's the investigator?
Skip. So,
Skip.
It's one step lower.
We're voting next to appoint you the investigator.
No, I got enough.
so we're gonna get a
I've got my hands
touch
in
with
enough.
Paxton and get this thing rolling. Is that what?
if we agree to the motion, then we will have the town administrator start discussions with Paxton's town administrator to work out, to develop the IMA.
Yep.
That we will then,
See if they may not like us anymore.
they may not. They might say, you guys are so.
I wouldn't like us.
But you have to ask the question first.
That's right,
Too much fun.
exactly.
Okay, so,
Yeah, we'll investigate other options. There we go.
There we go.
If that falls through, then we have other options that will
Exactly.
deal with it.
Either way, we have we can hire a person come July 1.
Yeah.
So, let's do a roll call vote
So-
on the, yep, sorry.
why are we going through the town administrator?
Because it's town administrator to town administrator, work out the details of the IMA.
If that's the direction we go.
Yeah, if it happens.
If that's the direction we go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean, they would work, if we ask them to investigate, they're gonna talk about the
Right.
terms, and
Right.
we'll figure all that stuff out as we go.
I'm just looking at a time factor.
Hey, it's fine.
Okay,
We have a committee, Skip.
all right.
Committee. It's committee. You start a committee for anything, remember?
We're in good hands in the meantime.
That's right. We'll start a committee.
Yeah, but she's in our hands right now, not in, never mind.
Right now, that's right, she's ours.
Okay,
That's right.
I'll make sure it's expedited.
that's what I was trying to get at.
She's like, the better I can get off.
You read my
Send
mind.
a message, a formal memo on behalf of the Conservation Commission requesting that the town administrator engage in a discussion with Heather Monroe.
Yesterday and not tomorrow.
You got it. I already did it, Skip. You didn't even know.
All right, thank you.
That's how good she is.
I agree.
So we have a motion, we have a second, is there any other discussion?
No.
Roll call.
Aye, clock eye.
Tintalucci, aye.
Williamson, I.
Langer and I.
Elko, aye.
Danza, aye.
Crane, aye.
Thanks, Melissa.
Okay,
Lisa's holding us all together tonight. She's the glue.
it might, so my only other question about the conservation agent, since we have a job description, is when do we start posting for a job that becomes available July 1? Because we have to post.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
that's
they-
a question for the town administrator.
Well, you kind of gotta have a job description before you can post anything.
Like June 1st, like.
No, we have the job description.
Yeah.
And post it.
But don't you need to know if Paxton's on board before you post it?
Yeah, you gotta see
I would say
back
once we
first.
agree agree with what we're gonna do, whether it's independent or shared, then we post it as soon as possible.
And I can
Say
do that for
start
you.
date July 1,
Right.
because I already see some of those on MMA for the new budgets.
Right.
Yeah, so, that's
Is it
fine.
your box down there, or is it Melissa that we can't hear?
It's Melissa. You heard the other people pretty clearly, so I'm going to blame Melissa on this.
Okay, we'll blame you, Melissa.
She has faulty equipment.
She just talks softly.
I'm eating my computer.
She talks softly and gives a big stick.
Must be your mic, just your computer mic.
Okay, that's it for conservation agent. We have a notice of a request for a superseding order of conditions, which is right there, from environmental design, all about our fun with Ridge Road. Good luck, Mr. Vertruba.
Yep.
Because we're done, you know?
We're done with that.
Yeah.
Just pass it
We're done with
along.
that one.
Yeah.
Right.
As always, one step at a time. We've done the forest cutting plan, continued work on wetlands bylaw. Well, not tonight. Not only is it after 7:30. Yes, I know, I did doom us. I apologize, Jared, you were exactly right. But one of the first things we're going to have to work on next time is the definition of what's within our jurisdiction in order to cover stormwater appurtenances.
Everything in Massachusetts. Done. It's easy.
Might not be legal, but it sure sounds easy.
Get the God complex and just go from there.
That's right.
Everything else is easy.
With everything else I was doing this weekend, I just didn't have time to write some proposed language for it, but
Give it to Melissa for next
For
time.
specifically repeat that for stormwater conditions for,
no, the areas under our jurisdiction are everything that we have in the bylaw, plus the storm, I need to come up with the right language, but it's certain stormwater appurtenances.
And why aren't we
$50
adding in,
word.
why aren't we
No, I
adding in
remember.
groundwater and rain at the same time? I mean, we might as well cover all the bases.
I don't think rain is under our jurisdiction.
I'm being
Joe is
a
being-
wise man.
Facetious.
I do it much better than you do.
That's
I
a
do.
$50 word.
well, if we think about,
Do we have a big arrow saying clueless?
no, if we think about 34 Ridge Road and use that as like our poster child, I think that'll help us.
Well, we don't know what's gonna be in there yet. We have to wait to see what, if a superseding order of conditions is even issued. They may kick it back to us, that's,
Well, they may not issue it simply because our reasoning was sound and give us no actual guidance.
That would be the worst outcome.
And that means it's the one I expect most.
no, they'll do something. They're gonna,
They'll use lots of words. I don't know exactly what they're going to do, but
They won't answer the question.
No.
They just beat around the bush.
Exactly.
Yep.
So stormwater standard conditions.
so that's what will be coming at us next time, plus whatever else I can write between now and then. Since we have 3 weeks, there's actually a good chance I can get something done.
It's June 6th.
maybe.
Damn, I'm gonna be here.
Wait,
What's that? You gonna miss us?
I'm gonna be here.
Oh, you are going to be
I'm gonna be
see,
here.
oh, so that wasn't on here,
What's that?
the stormwater conditions.
No, that's not stormwater conditions. We're talking about the bylaw.
No, Peter told me to take stormwater conditions
Yeah,
off.
those are off because we're not going to do those
Good.
until we've got a couple more stormwater things under our belt. It doesn't make sense for us to think about with what we think the standard condition is.
So we need to think about how we want to go above and beyond the state regulation.
I don't know why we're even bothering. Why don't we just stay with the state regulations and let it go?
For
And
one
that's
reason.
my opinion.
One reason is
Because why?
Because a mandatory 25-foot no disturb zone is working great in Holden.
Well,
It
that's
gives you
Holden.
the
That's not
leeway.
Rutland. That's Holden.
I
That's
know,
not
but I'm
Rutland.
saying it's working well for our community.
It
and
depends on how you define working great and who's it working great for.
It's working great for the protecting the resource area. And it's not overburdensome on the developer, because 25 feet's not a lot. That's from like me to the first row of chairs is 25 feet.
No,
No way.
no, it's not.
It's
No
not
way.
very
How
much.
much is the wall?
This room is 30 feet wall to wall.
Yeah.
So 25 is to
last
almost
row.
the last.
Well, I can tell you, when you're on the ground and you're looking at activities, 25 feet's not a long way.
It is when you put a circle around something. It's a lot of square footage.
No, whatever bylaws we're gonna do,
25
they have to
feet.
make sense,
Okay.
number one,
Right.
and not be perceived, as I perceive many things as being government
Well, I mean,
overreach.
Well, I think we should, personally, I think we ought to do a little bit of overreach and a lot of charging fees so we can get more money for ourselves.
That's
what I-
one way, yeah,
Local fees.
one way of looking at it.
Yeah, we're
Peter
only
just
being
wants
taxed
money, he
at that
doesn't care.
now. We're gonna add
That's
more
right.
fees?
Yeah, so then we
Yeah,
can
but
pay our
only the developers who pass it on to the purchaser, so it's not
Sure.
a big problem, right?
Right, well, they'll just raise the price of the house.
Exactly.
So that's, again, more taxation.
That's implicit taxation.
You know, other communities
No,
charge
no,
for like.
the value of the
CFCs
house is
and
higher now.
Stuff like
There,
that.
there are many things that we do work that end up costing
There
the
is
town
none.
money.
Yeah.
It's a recommended 30.
So that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Okay.
The thing that's not on the agenda is a fast discussion about my walk this morning with Roger Wicks from Mass DOT, who, by the way, lives in town.
Yep, Wheeler Road.
And we extensively walked the dam and looked at everything. So even when I spoke to him the first time, he recognized the problems that had with the original ECB installation.
I mean, is that I don't want to be presumptuous, all right? But is that indicative of, is that the kind of work that this company does everywhere? I mean,
And the fast answer is, I don't know that, but nothing surprises me anymore. So it means we have to keep our eyes open.
yeah,
So some of the ECBs have been doubled up. Socks. By the way, I actually, before I went out there the first time, I looked at the plans we approved, and it's socks only, no silt fence, single layer, 12-inch, and that the stakes are behind them to prevent them from rolling and falling down. There's nothing staked through. That's the plan we approved.
But that's because they're also mulch ones, which we don't stake through.
They're mulch ones, and they're going to get shifted as the work moves on. So
It's not a regular construction job where they put them at the limit of
They
work.
stay for the
They're
duration.
They're moving them.
You said, how long ago was this one that we approved? Was this a
a
while?
couple years ago now.
yeah.
Couple
Okay,
years.
a while ago. I'm trying to remember it. They're
It's a-
mulch logs?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, you don't usually stake through
Yeah,
them, you stake
right.
behind them, so that's
Yeah.
fine.
that's exactly what they did.
They actually sit in the ground pretty good.
Yeah, they're heavier than straw wattles.
Right.
Straw wattles are super light.
Yes.
Right.
I looked at one today, you could literally just like
Oh,
lift
they're
it
very light.
with one hand.
That's why
and
those have to be staked
That's why I have to
through.
stake them
It's pretty
right through
flimsy.
your hearts.
Doesn't really do
So as Scott's picture showed that we looked at last time, at least the couple we could look at last time, there were significant problems with the installation because stuff was flowing underneath the ECB. The entire area, anywhere where there was not direct contact with the ground, they have supplemented with a fair amount of wood chips.
Good.
And they've go sometimes a lot, sometimes not very much. It varies, but that makes sense.
They need a rainstorm. They need a mild rainstorm to wash the flow. Because the biggest problem now is you have most of the country drainage on that road is out of the road.
Right.
So all the water is staying.
Right, so Roger is concerned about other things he's going to have to do, quasi-detention ponds somewhere along the way, but he's not sure where to put them yet until, as Scott says, he sees the water flow. Then he'll know what to do. We have ideas where it all goes. Scott has more clear information than I do, which is fine, but
I'm gonna see if I can see him this week before I leave.
yeah.
Because, I mean, there's a couple right by the pond that I know, they've already been in there where they set a couple poles. If they put a quasi-detention basin there, that's gonna catch everything one way, and then they haven't gone the other way yet, so it'll be fine.
Okay.
But there's a couple, at least it'll be a sediment pond.
Right.
Because the water that comes down that road from uptown is insane, and I can't imagine what it is with no drainage. Because they're not gonna liven that drainage up for a long time.
No, I imagine not.
But there's a 2 or 3 spots. There's one by Alan Ovi's house. There's one by the rail trail tunnel. And if they put one right by the pond, right by Man's house,
Man's house.
and there's already a hole there anyways. If they clean that out, even if they do just a
Yeah,
A
that
straw
would be an
one.
ideal spot because.
it's an ideal spot because anything's gonna go right there.
You've got
It's a
everything
natural
blowing
low
that way.
point.
It's a natural low
And it's a
point.
natural depression.
It's a natural spot. So I'll see if I can walk with him tomorrow or Thursday before I leave.
Roger is on site every day. In fact,
You're going out of country.
I'm going to God's country. I'm
They
going,
may
I'm going to the
have
other
to-
house.
They may have to, because that little depression there over on Mann's property, that has been identified as a wetlands when that property was developed.
No, I'm farther down. We're not
The
over.
log cabin.
Yes, but we get the wetlands over
That
here
wetlands is right there at the road.
at the dam. That one. No,
No.
the one that I want is by the dam.
Yeah, it's
Right.
the same one.
No, it's not. You're on the
Just
opposite
let
side
them
of the
have
driveway.
service.
yeah, what's that? Almost, hold on.
We have our meeting over.
So I just want to finish by saying, not only is he on site every day, he has an office in town next to, damn it, Car Care Place, Maple Ave.
Custom.
Custom, that's it. And although I've never seen his truck there because he's normally on site, he's around.
And he lives in town. I mean, so guess what? When it rains, he's gonna show up.
I didn't bring his,
Phone number, you want it?
I have it.
Okay.
I have the whole plans to the whole thing at my house too.
so,
Motion adjourned?
I was gonna say.
Second?
Roll call? Wow!
Aye.
Santalucci, aye.
William said aye.
Langer and I.
Delacroix, aye.
Crane, aye.
Good night,
Oh
John.
boy, are we adjourned.
Good night, John boy.